Hey guys, this is Rick Shaw here. It's the 9th of October 2021, and there's that really cool little compressor. I have to get a one connector for it. I had a bunch of connectors, but the thread size was wrong, and then the little quick release thing that they gave me was a different type than the ones I have. So when I tried to change it to their one that they had, the threads were different. So just silly. It's just silliness. So, and I bought those here, so it wasn't like I brought them from America or anything, the old ones, because I have a little compressor in the car that I use. It just plugs into the lighter, and then this one I want for around the house, because I like to check the motorcycle tires. I do that every time I ride, because a big problem. It was like when Wes come over here, I was riding his bike, and it just seemed so unstable and quivery and stuff, and when we checked the air, it was like really low. So every time he comes by, I'd also like to check the air for him. I know he doesn't have a compressor, so I want to check the air for him and get him fixed up. But one thing I've been looking for a while here, and I just can't find any of you guys that live here, expats or anybody, Filipinos that live here. I need to find golf club components. My iron shafts kind of rusted, and I had broke one, and I don't want to take a chance. The other ones you could see rust bubbling through the chrome just from the weather here. And I just don't want them to fly off and hit somebody in the head. So I basically just pinched all the shafts off, but I can't find components. I want to find raw iron shafts. They're 370, straight taper that I need. One thing I did a long time ago, when I had my shop, I was going to build golf clubs, start doing golf clubs for folks. And what happened with that, I read the book called Science of the Swing. I read every book I could on golf clubs, from Golf Works to Golfsmith. Read all the golf books on how to learn how to play, because I really got into the game. And then the club making in the shop during the summertime really kept that shop afloat, because the gun work goes away pretty much then. Everybody brings their guns in right before the season, and you get swamped. They don't think to bring them in June or July for any kind of work they want, or custom ones built. But I got into this, and then I found the 1irongolf, read all their stuff, and bought into it. Now, shafts, I never was one to go for the all the different graphite and all that stuff. I learned how to balance the shaft. You do that with a couple of you need 3 really good bearings, 2 that you put in a little holder, and you put the back of the shaft on, and then you pull with a one in your hand, and you pull straight down, and you can spin it, and you can feel the part in the shaft, where it's I guess you would say the weakest, and you want to turn that. You want to mark that shaft, and then you're going to get real consistent hits. When I started doing all this stuff and went to 1irongolf shafts, my game just improved, because when they came out with golf shafts, when they went from the hickory, which were all custom made, very expensive, then they went to steel. And they thought, well, to fit everybody, we can't, we just can't do that. It costs prohibitive. So some bean counter in the office said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make them in half-inch increments, and then what'll happen? At least they'll have 1 or 2 clubs that fit them, and that's why everybody has a favorite club. A lot of people say they love their 7-iron, or like myself. When it came down to it, somebody asked me that. My best hitting club I ever had was my 2-iron. I could use that thing for just about anything. It always was just perfect. I could hit it a long way. I could pop that thing, if I was on a tee, 260, and I've had some farther than that. I just can whack the heck out of that thing, and I love that 2-iron. Well, that's the 1 iron golf, and I need shafts. But I built ones for people. I never was one on spending a ton of money on the shafts because it doesn't make that much of a difference. I did like the rifle shafts. I use them, and all these different flexes and stuff. When you decide on the different flexes, personally myself, I don't really believe that matters if you're using steel shafts because there's such a small difference, and then from company to company it's real different. I had a thing to measure flex and all this kind of stuff, and if you went from True Temper to the rifle shafts or any other company, one person's S-Flex was an R-Flex for the other company. So it's just all numbers and sales gimmicks. They keep coming out with new clubs all the time, and folks don't get any better. Now, me, I got better with the 1 iron golf clubs. I actually, they used to call me Iron Man because I would go out with no woods. I could hit the woods pretty good. I was real good with them. And I just would take irons because I wanted to really work on them. I actually played a whole year with that, and it shot really good scores. You know, I could shoot really good, and got really good. Now, I was also something I'd like to do, and I even talked to 1 iron golf about it, is so you can get extra clubs in the bag. It would be nice to have five degrees increment instead of 4. You know, like my set, I had taken a set, I had a bender and everything for irons, and I had made it so my 2 iron was a 20, and then I went 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, and I even had a 70. That way I could take a nice smooth swing. I had all the exact same length, and it was really good. That way I was able to throw extra clubs in the bag because I have a 5 wood that my brother gave me. It's got a True Temper shaft. He had built it for me on the length I wanted, and that dang thing got me out of trouble so much. It's been the only club I've ever had in my bag that never came out other than my putter. You know, I have the same putter. I built the putter way early, and I kept cutting it shorter and shorter. You know, the pendulum swing, I was never into that. I watched the old timers where they did it with their wrist, and my putter is so short you guys would just laugh at it, but I hinged my wrists and put them on my knee. You know, I watched the old timers doing it. They putted really good, and when I switched to that, and I started watching I read Ray Floyd's book where you look at the hole, and my biggest problem wasn't the aim or the read of the green. My biggest problem was distance, where I would putt and go 10 feet past the hole or come up 10 feet short or more, you know. So that was something when he said look at the hole, and I look at the hole when I'm putting. You know, I line up the ball, get my stroke about how I want it, and then I set up and I turn and I look right at the hole. And after I did that, my percentage of putts per round, it hovered around 26 and then I actually had a couple years where I was at 24 point something over that, because I had a thing called a stat tracker, and that improved my game also, because what I would do with that, I had a really good Callaway GPS thing, and if I was on a tee or if I was anywhere I was hitting the ball, if I pulled out a 7 iron, I would mark on the stat tracker that I had a 7 iron, and I'd hit the ball. And then when I got to the ball, I'd say exactly how far it went in yards, you know. And if I was doing a full swing, it had that you were doing a full swing, a partial swing, like that. And then after a while, it correlated all that information in there, and it would actually recommend a club for you for that distance. And you know, some holes play long, some play short, that kind of stuff. But that really helped my game out a lot. You know, the technology helped out a lot, and I got down pretty good in my scores. But I want to start again. I know Tropical Tim, he's got a set now that he can use. I'd like to shoot a game with him one of these times, but I want to get my irons up and going. I was playing here when I first came, and I was a member of club here where we went out weekly, and was doing really good. Played a lot of. There's some nice courses here, but the one thing you're going to find out when you play here compared to the States, golf's expensive. I had a golf club where I had a membership, two of them that I had memberships for $450 a year. Play anytime you want, So, and I played mostly through the week. And then there was other courses where there was one that was old Army base, and they had it for $18 to play the holes. But the lady told us, hey, once you're done, because we went in, my buddy and I wanted to play again. She says, no, once you're on the course, you just keep right on going. You're an ex-military, you just keep on going. And she says, why do you pay for 18? Why don't you just pay for 9? Because you're out there and you can just keep going. So my one buddy Ed, him and I, we were just fiends when it come to golf. We would get out there, pay for our 9 holes, and then we would just start playing and just keep. We would go around and play the entire day. We'd bring our lunch. He had this really cool little tripod chair on his golf cart thingy. He could just take his bag out and fold the seat down. It had a little arm that he could fold up, and then he could put his lunch, and we'd have our lunch somewhere if there wasn't tables or something. And I would always bring fruit and stuff like that to eat, and eggs, things like that. And he'd bring big sandwiches, and we'd stay out there from first light until dark, in the summertime. So you're talking about some serious golf. But I got him also into the 1-iron set. He was like an 18 handicapper, and I told him, look, you buy the components, I'll build you the set, no charge. You play them. Don't go back to your other clubs. Just play these for 1 year, and if you don't like them, give them back. And if you like them, then you can pay me. You can pay me whatever you want. Well, at first he didn't like them. He just was like, no. He couldn't get used to them. But then after he started just swinging freely with them, he went down to a 9 handicap. He knocked 9 off in that summer, and he never went golfing without me. He was up there pretty good. I think he was in his 70s or something. But he was strong. He was a real strong dude. Big forearms, and not a typical 74-year-old guy. This dude was a brute. He was in good shape. Electrician, and good worker. I worked with him for many years, and he was one of them guys. He may not have been as fast as the young guys, but he didn't make mistakes. He knew it. He knew it all. And just a fabulous individual. Loved to golf with him. Had a lot of buddies I golf with all the time, and it is absolutely my favorite sport. That, I would say, golf is my number 1 favorite, and then bowling's the next. And that's another thing. I need to get a bowling ball, and I just get mine split. So, but yeah, if anybody knows where I can get the components so I can build get my sets up. Now me, I'm real tall, and actually my original 2-iron that I had was 41 inches from the bottom. That's I think an inch and a half over what was standard, and my whole set was it was 40. It actually was 40, because 1-iron golf didn't want to make them that long for me. They, because they take a measurement, they didn't want to make them long. Well, when I reshafted them, I said I'm going to make them to what my 2-iron was, because I hit that so well. And that was it was so silly. You wouldn't think that change makes a huge difference. But I figured if it's too long, I'll just cut them back to 40, and regrip. But when I switched to that, it just seemed they were all more solid. And I spinal line. They call it spinal lining at Golfsmith, where you do that thing with the bearings. But that is something that's real important. I would never get a set of golf clubs that wasn't done. Every single tour pro does it. And if you really look at these tour pros, their bag on the inside is stepped. And their job is to sell for the companies, these component companies. They don't just make it off winnings. They make it off of using this equipment. And I've seen different pro-ams that I've been at. Their irons are all the same length. Some of them do have shorter wedges. You'll see that. But if you look at them hitting irons, they're in the exact same position every time. They want you at a certain degree, and that's what these guys used. All of them are spinal lined, so I definitely recommend that. I've actually had people that didn't want a new set, but I just pulled their shafts, spine aligned them, when I was doing a regripping or something like that, and people would come back and say, wow. One guy was getting ready to give up golf because it was vibrating his wrist and his elbows, and he said, man, my elbow hurts, and I hit his club. I went out back of the house and went ahead and whacked, and yeah, there was a couple clubs that just jarred you, and he didn't want to go to graphite. He was an old timer, and I went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to try something for you, this spine lining. And he wasn't buying it. And I said, I'm telling you, here's the deal. This is what I charge for it. I'm going to spine align them. You take them out golfing, and if you think it was well worth it, then you come back and you pay me. And tell all your friends, Of course, they don't, because they don't want their friends to know something that good, because they want to beat them, and they don't tell. But he wound up coming back and paying me, and then he wound up ordering a set, because he was hitting blades, and I, the cavity backs really help you out on a little bit of mishits. Now, me, when I was golfing, another thing I did is I used to have that little thing that spins the ball, and then you put that line around it that marked my ball. Well, when you take the Sharpie and you mark that ball like that, when you hit the club face, it leaves that on the club face. It leaves that little line on the club face. And that was my biggest problem, was not hitting in the center. So I was using blades when I first started. So I switched over to the cavity backs to give me a little bit of extra forgiveness. And also when it came to the drivers, I used to use a Kevlar driver that I could bomb farther than anything in the world, but boy, when it went wrong, it went real wrong. 2 fairways over type thing. But my dad, when he seen me golfing one time, he says, don't get rid of that. He says, because I've never seen anyone hit it so far. And I said, yeah, I hit it far, but sometimes I hit it way over there. I'd rather, slow. He goes, no, don't, because now you're going to learn how to get out of trouble. And I did. Believe me, I did learn how to get out of trouble. When you get into trouble, you got to get out, and you try different things. My 2-iron was one of my most famous clubs for getting me out of trouble. My 5-wood. I also had a club. A fellow worked for Cobra Golf, and he got these blems that weren't painted or anything. They were titanium castings, and they had something wrong with them. So what I did with this club was I filled the whole bottom with lead pellets. There was no stopper in there. It just was a hole. And I filled that with lead pellets to make it real heavy. And then I filled the entire club head up with resin, the same glue I used. I thinned it out real good. Then I stuck it in the oven so it would dry. And when I was done with all that, I put it on the stiffest shaft I could find, and that was a rifle shaft, 650. I forget the dang thing. And I made it short. I made this thing super short, just like a putter. And I could use it left-handed too, because the way that point was on it, and it was an offset job. And that was a really good trouble club. That was the most fantastic trouble club I ever had for getting out of real thick grass or anything, because it just plowed right through it. It could get you back out to the fairway. And I learned also, sometimes you just can't always keep going for the green like Tiger Woods. Sometimes you got to hit backwards on the fairway and know how far you want to hit it to whichever club you're going to use. So, you live and learn as you play. But that one, a buddy of mine wanted to borrow it, and he used it for a while. I let him borrow it. Real good golf buddy. And then he just came out and told me, I'm not getting it back. What do you want for it? Because you ain't getting it back. I'm never giving it back to you. I mean, he loved it. And I said, just take it, because I can make another one. And that one, I wound up, this fella said, look, they're going to be closing this casting section for Cobra, so I won't be able to get these anymore. How many do you want? I said, get me all you got. Well, I made a whole bunch of those, and I put them in the shop. And after a while, it was amazing how fast. And I was charging $300 for them. Sorry, that's what these are. And I actually polished them down and painted them real good, put a good epoxy paint on, made them look pretty. And those things went out of the shop. They went out of the shop like crazy. And I made them all real short. I put a nice big Tacky Mac grip on them too, so you had a real good control of it. And I actually knew one fella. He was my car salesman. He used it as a driver, and it was a 3-wood, but he used it as driver because he said, "Man, I don't even swing hard, and I'm hitting the ball farther than I ever." And he used a real soft golf ball. Me, when I was golfing, I used to use this DDH 110 ball. I could hit that ball. I actually had on one golf course that was recorded. I've had them farther than that, but I had one recorded at the golf course, was 399 yards. I was actually with the owner, and I was with my buddy John, and I was with the owner's wife, and then there was some other dude that was just walking with us, an old guy. I never did get his name. He was an owner's friend, and he didn't golf. He just liked to walk along. And I was on the 9th hole, and I blasted this drive with my Kevlar driver, and it just went perfect. It went straight out, and it went into this slight draw, and we were like, oh, that's going to be a real good one. Well, we got up to, we're sitting, it was a 500-yard hole, and we were right in the center of the tee box, and we're looking at this thing, and we're looking at the 200 yards out for the ball, can't find it. And the guys up ahead were waving at us, and here it was sitting a foot from the 100-yard marker. So the owner closed the course. He closed it. And then he went back and got this rangefinder. It was an old World War II. He was an old World War II vet. I think he's dead now. But he got this rangefinder and marked where we teed, because we were at the white tees. He closed that hole. You had to go around. And he marked it. We had everybody who had a range finding. He asked everybody, because he had the ball still sitting there, and he put a plaque up there with the date and the witnesses on that drive, because he said he'd never seen a drive that far. But here's another thing too. This was done like in August, and we hadn't had rain for a month and a half. So the ground was hard, and that guy on his golf course, he mowed it. He mowed it quite often. So if I'd have been out in the rough somewhat, it probably wouldn't have went as far, I don't think. But it hit right in the fairway, on the right side of the fairway, and we got up there. It was sitting right dead center of the fairway. So that was my longest one that actually was recorded. But I had other ones that went farther. I had one, according to the Callaway golf thing, was 419. I've always been able to hit them far. Ever since I first started. Because when I first started golfing, my biggest trouble was with the woods. I didn't do too bad with the irons, just distance problems. And there was a driving range close, walking distance from where I was living. And that's why I kept that place. And I would go there every day. They got to know me and give me a real good deal by the hour instead of paying by the bucket. I told them, man, that's a little too expensive for me. And they said, look, here, take as many as you want. What do you need? Okay, and we're getting some rain, guys. But they let me pay them by the hour. I think it was like $10 or something like that. And I got as many balls as I want. And I just kept practicing hitting them. And I did that every day. It was a lit place. It was open till late at night. They would close when nobody was there. If I was there at midnight, they didn't care. They left the lights on. And they had this big golf ball. And if you hit it into a certain hole inside that golf ball, you got a free bucket. And they would give me the coupon for the free bucket, but because they were charging me so cheap, I would just give it to friends so they would come there. Because when you get a bucket, you're going to buy another one. Golf's addictive, guys. I got addicted to it. It's worse than drugs. I'm telling you, it is absolutely 100% worse than drugs to me. It is the coolest sport because it's like the way I like being an electrician, because you're always doing something different. And golf, there's always something different, and you got to be good at some different aspects of the game. You got to be good at driving. You got to be good at irons. You got to manage the course. I had a buddy, Tom. He was a fantastic golfer. I mean, he would just shoot around par all the time. And I'd see him doing stuff thinking, man, why didn't he go for the green? Or why didn't he do this? And he helped me a lot with course management. Instead of one time he said, I'm not going to golf with you. I'm just going to walk with you, but I'm going to tell you what to do. And it was the first time that I shot only a couple off par. I think it was 2 over par on that first game him and I played, and then the next time I think it was 3 over par. Because he said, okay, I want you to hit this one. I don't want, I was one of these guys always going for the green. If I was sitting out 250 yards, I was going for the green. Well, I was over behind the green, to the left of the green, in sand traps and all this. So he would have me, he knew my best clubs because we golfed for years. And he said, yeah, you're really good at that 60-degree wedge. That's a perfect club for me for 105 yards. If I just put my normal swing on it, I can hit that thing straight as an arrow, 105 yards, and it pretty much will stop. And he said, okay, so he was having me lay up. He was having me lay up to 100 yards. And that was it. That really fixed me, because then I was dropping it on the pin, and my putting always was really good. I actually was playing here one time, and we went to a course that had really big greens. And I walked up to the putting area, and they give you a caddy here, and I dropped 2 balls, and I went as far away from the hole, the farthest hole away was a good 60 feet, and I whacked them both, and both of them were within a couple inches of the hole. Didn't go in, but a couple inches, both of them on the high side. Walked over and tapped them in and picked them up. Okay, my putting was good, and that day, that girl that was the caddy, she said that was the absolute best putting she'd ever seen. I had 24 putts on that round. My score wasn't that great because that place, she was afraid to speak English because they're afraid that they're going to speak it poorly, which is just dumb. So she wasn't really telling me everything I should have known. Because I don't care what you say. If you've got a really good caddy at a golf course, they're going to tell you what to watch out for, and you will shoot a better score. I had, when I was down at Villamore with that caddy named Abe, I'd tell him a club I'd wanted, and he'd say, oh, no. He's seen off the first tee how far I hit it, and I hit it right up in front of the green. And he was like, whoa. And then when we went to holes, on the one hole, I was just on with the driver. That it was one of the days, I don't get them every day, but it was a day on the driver where I could just blast this puppy. And right where I wanted it. And we got to this dog leg, and I said, hey, would it be good if I went to that tree, see where that limb's hanging? There was a dead limb hanging on the tree. So if I just went right at that limb there. And he's like, yes. You go right there, because right behind that's the green. And he said the way it slopes, it's downhill to the green, so if you can do that. And he knew I was hitting them far. And I'm not kidding you, I was only inches off of hitting that limb. That's how on I was that day. And when we got up there, it actually was sitting on the fringe of the green on this par 4. And my putting was really good, so I wound up. Actually, that was a no putt, because even though I used the putter, I wasn't technically on the green. See? So I actually popped it right in the hole. I got it in because I was real close to the flag. They had the flag over on the right side that day. And that was my only eagle on the day, but I shot a good score, and it was because of the caddy. The one time we're on the hole, and he said I was going to go ahead and pop a 3-wood, and he says, no, take your driver. I said, I'm going to go through. It broke to the right. And he says, no, hit into those woods right there. He says, it looks bad in the front, but when you get out to the back, it's all open. And I know you can get to the green, because he's seen me popping my my kind of like chip type shot I got. And sure enough, when I got in there, it opened up. I hit right into that, and that was course management. That caddy was good. His name was Abe. If I ever go back to Villamore, if he's still there, he was an older gentleman, but I'll tell you what, that was the best caddy I ever had. He knew that course. He said he'd been there for years, and he was just a fantastic caddy. So they do help you out a lot, and I like to give the caddies a pretty good tip, if they're good. And if they're bad, I don't give them nothing. I had one girl, I'm getting up on this hole, never played this course at all, and we made the turn, and I said, okay, I was going to lay up. I was going to course manager. I'm going to lay up. I said, okay, I'm going to grab a 7-iron, and she knew how far I was hitting my 7-iron. I'm whacking them 180 like that, and she's okay. Yeah, go ahead. So I went ahead and I hit that, and I was working on a pretty good score. At that time, at the turn, I was only 8 over, so that's pretty good. Bogey golf. I was real happy with that. So I get on the tee and I'm going to lay up. You could see the top of the flag over this mound, and there's no sign showing what the course looks like. There was nothing in the caddy card, and I'm like, okay. So I hit the 7-iron dead in the center of a swamp. And I actually, I was hoping to get the numbers down with some birdies, because there was a lot of par 4s there on the back. The par 5s were on the front, and I just went and told her, look, take yourself and get back to the clubhouse. I don't even want to look at you anymore. Never told me. So now I got to do a drop. I had to do a drop to get to the green, and I just was really frustrated. It's not good. One thing, if you're going to get a Class A caddy here, ask them for one that speaks English. And if they don't have one at the time, wait. Just wait. Call ahead, because they'll help your score. And I really, when I'm shooting better than bogey, I want to get it down. I'm really focused on getting some birdies and trying to get her down as close to par as I can. So, but that's me rambling on about golf. We are getting some rain today. I'm going to put my Christmas tree out in the rain so it gets some good stuff from the sky. And it did say, the weather guy, WX Weather, said we were going to be in for some rain. There's these monsoonal flows coming all over the place, and I was watching the weather map, and yeah, it's going to be that. So you guys all take care, and like I say, anybody knows anything about golf components, I need everything. I need tape, I need grips, I need iron shaft, steel ones, I need ferrules, and I need glue. I like that 2-part epoxy glue. And I also like the tape where you use the mineral spirits. The guys, the ones that use the water-soluble one, I've had those come off. I've had those come loose to where they squiggle around in your hand while you're playing. So yeah, I just don't like those. So, and I do like the big Tacky Mac grips. I went to them. And you all take care now. This is Rick Shaw, out.